Percy Jackson, we've been expecting you.
Let's do this.
Action.
Percy Jackson began as a bedtime story for my son. All these years later, it's become a story for kids all over the world.
It all started with a book that 180 million people around the world adore.
The books are really special to me.
I think I've reread all of them 6 times so far. I enjoyed them a lot in 3rd grade, and I still enjoy them now. You'll find out who I am.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
You're more than a hero now.
The fans that have read the books can say, I could be Annabeth Chase or Percy Jackson. You can be a hero no matter what you look like, no matter what your personal challenges are, no matter where you come from.
I feel like it makes me realize that I can achieve really great things in my life.
You are not broken. You are singular.
There was this demand for a really faithful adaptation of the stories.
Rick has given 20 years of his life to this material, building this with us. It was crucial. It was going to make the difference of this working or not working.
For what comes next, we're gonna need all the help we can get.
Brace yourself, Percy.
Let's go do the impossible.
It's crazy how it went from the bedtime story 20 years ago to here we are.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing tonight? Well, actually, I should change that. Hello, demigods, campers, and Percy Jackson fans. Is that better? Well, my name is Lisa Cabello. I'm so delighted to be here with you today. I'm a host of D23 Inside Disney. It's a YouTube series all about the world of Disney. And speaking of D23, I think we have some members in the audience tonight. Is that right? Where are they at? They're all throughout. Well, I'm delighted to be here with all of you because we are here for a very special occasion. It's the 20th anniversary of Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief. Who read it back when it first came out? Well, and then tonight we are also honoring his birthday. So double the celebration. So much in store for you tonight. And of course, we have to acknowledge Percy's a beloved hero, known globally, but it all started with one man, #1 New York Times bestselling author, Rick Riordan. Let's welcome him.
Wow, good-looking crowd tonight. Hey, everybody. I see a lot of orange shirts. Good representing. I like that.
Okay, right off the bat, though, 20 years, how does that feel? You enter into the room, you hear the applause. What's that feeling like, Rick?
That's great. Hearing the phrase 20 years, I need to take a nap, basically. But no, I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah.
Well, we got to go back then. So 2005, The Lightning Thief hit shelves. He's counting the numbers right now. But so it hit shelves then. But what was the first beginning of the character of Percy?
Right. So before that, you really have to go back to about 2002 when my oldest son, Haley, was struggling in school because he had just been diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, having a tough time, and to sort of get him feeling better about where he was as a person and as a student, I made up a Greek myth. I mean, I figured that's what they do with myths, right? They're made to explain things that we don't really understand. So I told him, in my world of Greek mythology, if you have ADHD and dyslexia, that might be a sign that you're really special indeed. You might be a demigod. And he said, that explains it. And I told him this story off the top of my head of Percy Jackson, and he is the one that said, I think you should write that down. And so really, I guess we owe it to him. That's why I'm here.
I love that. And little known fact, I'm from the Bay Area, and I heard that this was also, you were in the Bay Area around this time when this was all coming together.
That's true, yeah. During the 1990s, my wife and I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that's where both of our sons were born, one in Oakland, one in Berkeley. I was a teacher at Presidio Hill School in the city and was having, a great time and was teaching Greek mythology during that time. So it was all coming together for me. I just hadn't quite put all the pieces together. I will say, though, that as a project, I don't think I could do this today, but as a Greek mythology project, I had the kids at Presidio Hill write their own prayers to their favorite Greek god, and then we would go out onto the courtyard and fire up the barbecue, and we did burned offerings. And this is the kind of thing you could do in San Francisco in the 90s, So if you ever want to know what a burning Barbie doll smells like when you sacrifice to Aphrodite, I can let you know.
Okay, so clearly sacrifices were involved here, but so then you're bringing mythology into a very personal story. How do you begin to start to orchestrate that?
Well, the thing is, it's kind of built into Greek mythology, I think, because Greek mythology is still with us after all of these centuries, because it's talking about the human condition. Everything in the myths is still very relevant to what we have today. Love, revenge, family, loyalty, patriotism, what does it mean? I mean, what do all those things mean? How important are they? Which one is more important than the other? What do you do when you have a dysfunctional family? Not that we have any of them now in the modern world, but
Sure don't.
Those Greek gods were the first example in literature that I can think of where you have that. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And certainly a lot of us can relate to being what demigods are, caught in the middle, between friends and family, between childhood and adulthood, between society and what we want to do for our own selves. It's a very, very understandable kind of dilemma.
So you're at the onset of this. There's many dilemmas in there, it sounds like.
I specialize in dilemmas, yes. Yeah.
So you're trying to solve for this, though, but I imagine what we end up with in The Lightning Thief probably had many iterations preceding it. Can you talk to us about some of those earlier versions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first story, as I mentioned, was ad-libbed. I was making it up as I went along to my son. It took me about 3 nights to tell him the whole story. And I was talking to him recently about this experience. He is 30 now, by the way. And I have to tell you, too, this is fun. My little boy, who was ADHD and dyslexic, well, still is, but he grew up to be a learning difference accommodation expert at a university, and now his life is getting kids accommodations. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Incredible.
But he told me that in the version he heard, Luke Castellan did not exist. I didn't remember that, but he assures me that was the case, and he's always pointing out details. Well, in my version, which was better, by the way, it's not the book version. And then in the manuscript version, I had to show it to some of my students because I was still a full-time teacher when I wrote The Lightning Thief. And I wanted to make sure it would work for middle grades, which was what I taught and what I was trying to write for. So I showed it to some of my 6th graders. And boy, I was nervous. I was like more nervous than I've ever been showing it to a New York editor. It's like, would you read this and see if it's any good? And they were great. They came back with all kinds of fantastic advice. One reader said, so his pen turns into a sword. What happens to the cap? And I was like, that's a really good question. So I had to address that. Another girl said, well, you called it, the first title of the book was Son of the Sea God. And she said, you can't call it that because that gives it away. I was like, oh yeah. What does it call it? Lightning Thief, maybe? Yeah, and that's how that came about. Yeah. And then finally the printed version.
Finally, The Lightning Thief. Okay, so what would you say is your favorite part of modernizing these ancient gods and stories for all of us?
I love modernizing the myths, and honestly, it's not hard at all. to imagine Ares on a Harley Davidson with a shotgun and a leather jacket, somewhere out on the highway in the West. I mean, it's natural. And imagining, Poseidon in his Tommy Bahama shirt somewhere down in the Keys, That's the thing about the gods. They transfer so easily. And I'm certainly not the first to modernize that. We have been doing that with the gods as long as those stories have been around. I mean, you can find in the history of art, you can find pictures of Apollo with the powdered wig on from the 1700s. You can find pictures of them in the 1800s, 1900s, back in the Middle Ages. And whatever age we're talking about, the artist makes the gods look like the people of that time. So they transfer very, very easily. I'm just carrying on the tradition.
You do it so well, because I did. I went to Greece this year, and I was like head scratching. But then over here, you make it all make sense. So thank you for doing that. I've got to ask, though, with all your vast knowledge, did you have a favorite god or myth going in? And then once you created the world of Percy, did that change?
Oh, I have so many favorite myths, as you might imagine. Weirdly though, I think my favorite myth is the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. I love Orpheus, and yes, I have seen Hadestown. Thank you very much. It's very good. Very good. They do a super job. I love that Orpheus is a hero, but his superpower is music and not like sword fighting or something. That speaks to me. As a very amateur musician, I love that. But weirdly enough, I've never used that myth. Not really. In any of my books. And I don't know why that is. Whether it just feels like it's too close to me or whether I just didn't feel like I could do it right. I'm not sure. But that is my favorite, and I think that's still the answer. So if you want a good one, go see Hadestown. That's my best advice.
Maybe a sneak peek for some future work there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You never know. One of these days.
One thing that makes Percy and the whole world so impactful that you've created is that you were able to bring in marginalized voices and give them power. What was that like? Was that a conscious choice that you made from the onset, or was that something that kind of evolved over time?
Well, I think both. In a sense, I was talking about how it was a way to help my son feel seen as a kid with learning differences, as a kid who felt they didn't fit in. Yeah, it's really hard. Middle grades are hard no matter who you are. But if you're a kid who doesn't feel like you fit in for whatever reason, it's so much harder. So I've always, as a teacher, as a parent, been sensitive to that, been empathetic to that. And so Percy Jackson, at its core, was about representation. It was about representation very personally for my own son and his learning differences. And even though I didn't plan it to become this huge series, I didn't know that it was going to take off like that. Once it did, it became very clear to me that my audience was important just the same way my students in my classroom were always important. And every single one of them needed to feel, when they came into my classroom, they needed to feel safe and respected and valued. And so I had to make sure to do the best I could to make sure I was showing them that, yes, you belong in the world of Percy Jackson, no matter who you are. So.
It's so profound. Dream teacher, dream parent right there. Goodness gracious. Checking all the boxes.
Hey, I still assigned homework, so not maybe.
That's where it balanced out. All right, the pop quizzes, I'm sure. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so the birthday boy, Percy, of course, we've got to talk about. So he's described as witty, brave, impulsive, loyal, but also flawed. Not like any of us are, by the way. But how did you find his voice? And then what do you hope readers learn from the character?
Percy's voice is, in a lot of ways, my voice. It's also my son's voice, to an extent. But more than that, I imagined him being one of my students when I first began. And at that time, I'd been teaching for 15 years. I had seen many, many classes full of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders come through, all with their own wonderful personalities and senses of humor. But I sort of, by that time, had a pretty good sense of what a 12-year-old boy sounds like, and what they're thinking, especially when they're presented with information that's just absurd. They come into the classroom and they're thinking, why am I learning this? It's like, this has nothing to do with my life. And it was my job to convince them otherwise, with humor, with action, with relevance, and say, no, look, this is actually a really cool story. Let me tell you this version of it. So Percy is that. He's the voice that I hear when I'm imagining myself back in my classroom talking to my kids.
Well, Percy, obviously a true icon. However, you've created a few other iconic characters. I kind of want to hear from the audience a little bit as I list them off. Let's see. Okay. Annabeth. Who's fans of Annabeth? Grover. Nico.
Nico, hello.
Hello, Nico. And then Luke. Clearly, we've got some fans in the audience, very vocal about it. Were there any of them that were particularly difficult to write?
Oh, difficult to write. Gosh. I think I had to work a little bit harder to understand Nico at the beginning, partly because he was young, partly because his sort of path was so poor guy, kind of torturous, all the things he had to go through. Even before you meet him, he's already been through so much that you find out only later. Mm-hmm. And then I bring him into the story, and these tragedies, spoiler alert, these tragedies sort of start piling up, and he has such empathy, and there's so much going on with him. So I think I tried to be extraordinarily sensitive in the way that I was writing him. And at first I wasn't quite sure what's going on with this kid. Where is his head at, and what's going on emotionally with him? It became clear the more I wrote about him, but it was not immediately obvious to me.
So much thought, clearly, and it clearly resonates as you hear the cheers in the audience that it comes through and shines.
That's awesome. I'm glad for that.
Okay, so now we're looking back 20 years later. What do you think it is about Percy that still resonates with readers of all ages? Because that's the beauty of this, right? It's multi-generational.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, I like to say that if you still enjoy the books, you're the right age. And if you feel like they're not for you anymore, that's fine. There's so many books in the world. I don't mind. Go read what you love. You should always just read what you love. Just read. For goodness sakes, read something. But if they work for you, and that's fantastic, I hope it's because you can imagine yourself in the role of Percy or Annabeth or whoever is your avatar in that world. I hope that you enjoy the humor and the action, but you also feel like these characters become part of your family and you care what happens to them. And so when I do something terrible to them, you really feel it, right? Not that I would ever do that, of course.
Okay, so take us back. So The Lightning Thief is published.
Right.
Do you have any inkling that this could become a phenomenon?
Sort of, I'm of two minds about it. On the one hand, I kind of have a sense that this is different than anything I'd written before. And I did write other books before. I wrote adult private eye novels, which did okay. And, I liked doing that. But this felt very different. This felt personal. It felt relevant. It felt like if I did have a breakthrough, this was going to be it. But that did not necessarily mean that I knew it was going to be a breakthrough. When the book first came out, there wasn't a lot of noise around it. I remember doing my very first book signing, which again was in the Bay Area. One kid showed up.
It's not a good start for the Bay Area. We got to make it up to you.
But, I had to put a brave face on it. We had a nice time. He got the very first Camp Half-Blood t-shirt, went on his way. A couple of weeks later, I was in a Borders Books, which no longer exists. But I saw another kid, in the kids section, cross-legged on the floor, reading through The Lightning Thief to see if he wanted to pick it up. I resisted the urge to go up and say, I wrote that. because that would have been a little weird. But yeah, it was not at all obvious. It was really only until The Sea of Monsters came out as a paperback that we found out it hit, I think it was like number 7 on the paperback New York Times list. We were in Las Vegas at the time, renting a car, and we got the phone call, and I was in the Hertz office, like jumping up and down, like, ah! So it was a slow build.
That's lovely. Can you imagine if I was like, yeah, I was that kid back there. I was the first kid. Just a change there. Okay, so basically, that book, though, The Lightning Thief, is there anything that still gives you chills? Is there anything that you're really proud of? Because I imagine, you know, it's been 20 years,
right?
But creating this, were there any moments that were, you know, a creative challenge that you conquered and now are just you're so proud of, and clearly it's long lasting for everyone?
That's a great question. I don't normally think of it that way. Normally, I'll be honest, when I go back and read things I've written a long time ago, it's more like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh no, Rick, what were you thinking? You know, I guess that's pretty typical. I mean, I don't know if you guys write, but you look back at something you wrote and you're like, oh, no. But things I'm proud of, I mean, I guess I'm just proud that I got through it and I stuck with it and that it developed this life. At this point, though, I kind of feel like The Lightning Thief and the other books, they don't really belong to me anymore. They belong to all of you. I mean, they are kind of public property now, and everybody has their own take on it. Everybody sees themselves in certain roles and interprets the story in their own way and applies it to their own life, and I think that's beautiful.
That really is beautiful. The beauty of a book. Okay, so you've written so many incredible series since Percy first arrived. Can you talk about how the world of Percy has expanded beyond the series?
Beyond the series, well, I knew, as I was talking about kind of earlier, after the original 5 books, that I kind of wanted to expand the range of characters that I had and be, you know, a little more diverse and representative. And so the Heroes of Olympus was the next step where I really wanted to have an ensemble, 7 demigods from all over the place, all different life experiences. And that was a challenge to write from, first of all, third person and not first, and then 7 points of view. Maybe if I were doing it again, I would just say 3, because that was a lot. But it was fun. And then after that, the Kane Chronicles with Egyptian mythology. I love ancient Egypt. That was a lot of fun, too. And then probably my personal favorite, I got a soft spot for Magnus Chase, the Norse series, because I love Norse mythology, and it was set in what was then my brand new hometown of Boston when it first came out, and had a great time with that. So.
Okay. We want to shift now to the Disney Plus series.
Okay.
I think we've got some fans out there of that. Okay, so what was it like seeing The Lightning Thief adapted for television, especially, how exciting, your role as executive producer?
Yeah, it was, well, first of all, I have to say, it was a lot of work making that happen. I mean, if any of you were, you know, following posts and blogs and things that I was doing back then, you know how long it took. I made the mistake of keeping you guys updated in real time, and you're like... And I'm like, yeah, I know. This is actually how long it takes. You know, we started that process back in 2019.
Oh, wow.
And that's when we went out to Hollywood and said, okay, you know, we really think this could be a great live action TV show. And then it was 2022 when we finally got it greenlit and started to film. I think that's right. I don't know, maybe. I'm old. The year is just sort of, what decade is it again? I don't know. But it was great. It was a lot of work, but being an executive producer, and Becky, my wife, is also an executive producer with me, which is only fitting since she's been, you know, my first and greatest editor for my whole career. Mm-hmm. So we're on set all the time. We see everything. We're involved in casting decisions. We get a say on what the costumes look like. We see every draft of every script. We look at all the stuff that comes in, dailies, what they film every day when they're on set. So I got to learn what the process is like from the very beginning all the way to the finished product. It was eye-opening. I mean, I guess this is true of most careers, but unless you've actually done it or seen it done, we don't have a clue, what is involved in making a book or making a TV show or a movie. I'm not going to say I'm an expert now, but I have gotten a healthy respect for how much work the actors put in, the producers, the writers, the directors. Oh my goodness, it's a lot of work. Every day that Percy Jackson is filming, I think the call sheet is 500 people.
Wow.
That's how many people it takes every single day just to do one day of filming. So it's involved. And did I have complete control over every single detail ever? No, it's impossible. You can't. I mean, you got 500 people and they're all running around doing their own thing. It's kind of like being on a team. It's a team sport. You can look at it on the TV and say, well, the linebacker there, he should have gone that way. So, okay, well, maybe so. But, in real time, you can't stop the entire team and move one piece. You have to kind of trust the people that are on the field to do what they do best. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Everybody's doing the best they can. So, but I do think, having said all that it came out really, really well.
I think we agree. I'm not going to leave you off the hook there, though, Rick.
Okay.
We got season 2 coming in a couple months. So is there anything you can tease for season 2?
Wow. I wish I could show you the pictures that I took backstage. I can't. They won't let me. But they're so cool. I know I was talking to all of the actors, and they all mention this, that the ironclad that is in the season, that they sail into the Sea of Monsters, is particularly amazing. They built a full-size ironclad warship, and it's amazing. I came in the first week of filming. I asked them what they were doing, and they said, we're having artillery practice today. They were not kidding. I mean, they had the experts come in to show, how you fire the huge guns. And then when we were filming, they had the waves going over the deck, and everybody was on, you don't see it in the final cut, obviously, but they're all on rigs so they don't blow overboard. So everybody's flying all over the place. It's wild. And then they have to reset and do it all again. And they do that all day long, just to get one scene. But pretty cool. As you can tell, probably, I'm a little excited about it. I think it's going to be pretty amazing.
Well, and we have to talk about the cast.
Yeah.
So Walker, Leah, and Ariane, they're back, and we're so excited. Yay! But for you, what was it like casting them for this?
Well, I have to say we got lucky because they are all incredible. But not only are they super actors, but they're also very grounded, and they have great families that support them and are there for them. And our job really, I kind of had to put my teacher hat back on and just sort of be the mentor and the guide, but mostly just, the coach and saying, you're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing. Awesome. What do you need? How can I help? And our job as a whole production team, I think, was to support the kids, to support the young actors and make sure they felt safe and valued and good. Well, just what I was talking about the classroom. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. But let them shine. Let them do their own thing. They are incredible, all of them. Walker is the superest of super fans. He knows the books better than I do. I am not even lying. He's incredible, and he's got the sense of humor, which you can't teach, but he has Percy's sense of humor down pat. Leah is an incredible child of Athena. I remember the first time I met her, she walked up to me. She knew who I was. She didn't care. She's like, Rick, I have some questions. I'd like to talk about Annabeth and her family. What's her relationship with her mom? It's like, wow, okay.
Down to business.
This kid is self-assured. I like that. And Arian is just such a sweetheart. He is the nicest guy, and he's got Grover's heart. Not literally, but he's got Grover's sense of sweetness and loyalty and friendship. He's just the best friend you could ever hope for. So they were perfect, and still are. Even though Walker is now 20 feet tall. So.
They embody the roles so well. However, are there any fun anecdotes on set that you can share with us?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so many. I mean, I'm not sure. Let's see, what can I say without embarrassing them? There's a lot of downtime when you're filming something, and on a TV show, even more so than on a movie. A lot of it is waiting around. Glenn Turman, who plays Chiron, told me one day I was talking to him, he said that he would act for free. You have to pay him to wait. It's like, that's the hard part, waiting around for your scene. Anyway, one day the kids were really bored, and I don't know why, but they had a sheet of bubble wrap. And Walker decided to roll himself in the bubble wrap, and the other kids were like going, pop, 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 pop. I have video. Maybe someday I will show it to you. That's just one day. I mean, every day. Something.
I love the movie magic and all of that at all you need is some bubble wrap. Okay, so speaking of the cast, I think we have a message from everyone's favorite demigods. Let's take a look.
Hi, Rick. Congratulations on 20 years of Percy Jackson. Where do I even start? I mean, there's so much I could thank you for. Thank you for writing the books in the first place, getting me into reading.
Hi, Mr. Rick. Congratulations on 20 years of Percy Jackson.
Thank you so much, Rick, for 20 years of Percy Jackson and probably the 3 best years of my life.
Uncle Rick, Becky, thank you guys so much, first of all, for writing such amazing books, and congratulations on 20 years of Percy Jackson.
Oh, hey, Rick. Congratulations on 20 years of Percy Jackson. You have created this incredible world, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it.
This series has really changed my life, and I know it's changed the lives of millions of people out there, so thank you for being a voice to so many of these demigods that we have running around in the world.
The impression that you set and the standard that you give is just something that we all look up to. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for me and for the cast and for making us feel at home and for what you've done for millions of kids around the world.
Thank you for kind of bringing me into your family. I know this book means a lot to you, and I want to thank you for letting us all become, a big part of it.
I'm so honored and so grateful to be on this amazing show. You have written such beautiful characters, and I cannot wait to put Annabeth to life for more seasons.
Rick, congratulations on 20 years, my lovely. It's been such a long ride. I can't believe I'm even a part of this cast still. Thank you so much for everything. I know we've been working together to create Dahlia, and I cannot wait for the fans to see it.
Congratulations, Rick, on your anniversary. Thank you very much for bringing me into your world, and so excited for all the adventures to come.
Congratulations, Rick and Becky, on 20 years of Percy Jackson!
20 full years.
20 years, man.
I can't even imagine that time.
Wow.
20 full years.
20 years!
20 years.
Rick, wow.
Move it this way.
Thank you, Rick, for all this, because I love you so much. Percy Jackson, the Olympians.
Thank you for 20 years of Percy Jackson.
Love you.
Congrats.
You're the best. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Wow. I don't cry easily, but that got me. I'm telling you, that's something. That's something. I love those actors. They are so amazing.
It was very special. I think I saw some bubble wrap in the background as well.
I'll be back. I'm going to wrap myself up.
Okay, so before we move on to our lovely audience questions, one more for you, Rick.
Okay.
What can the fans expect next?
What can you expect next? Well, as you may have heard, we have started filming season 3 already. In fact, right after this, I am zipping off and heading to Vancouver so I can join these lovely people on set to see that happening. Becky and I are both going out there. And it's the art I have seen, the scripts I have read, incredible. I mean, I think we are, as a production, hitting our stride in that, it takes a while to kind of, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to adapt it? How do we keep the humor? How do we keep the action right? And even though we're off to an incredible start, and being a perfectionist, I always think we can do better. And so that's what we're trying to do every season, is improve. And I think in season 3, we are cooking. Everything is going great. Everything looks amazing. I can't wait to get up there. I have seen the first dailies. Literally, they just started last week. So I have seen Nico and Bianca, Westover Hall, Dr. Thorne, Thalia and Percy and Annabeth, that first scene from the book coming to life. And I'm like, okay, this is it right here. And the really cool thing is that it hasn't been adapted yet. So this is new ground in terms of coming to the screen. I love it. And in terms of books, well, The Court of the Dead, which I got to co-write with the amazing Marco Shiro, who is an incredible author, a Nico D'Angelo book, will come out in September. I can't wait to get on tour and do that with Mark.
So special. It really must be incredible in real time hearing the fans go, oh my gosh.
That's great.
I'm right there with you. There it is. One more. We got another one. Okay, so these lovely, lovely folks in the audience have some questions for you. So here we go with our first.
Okay.
From Katie. If you could talk to your 2005 self about everything that's happened in the past 20 years of Percy Jackson, what would be the thing the younger you would be most shocked by? She's starting off deep. She's getting real.
I mean, I think probably what I would tell myself is just keep at it, don't give up. Because at the beginning, as I said, I was not at all sure this was going to work out. For many years, I kept my teacher lesson plans in boxes in my garage, just in case I needed to go back into the classroom, which, by the way, I would have been fine with. I loved teaching. But as it turned out, I didn't need to. I think I would just tell myself, this is going to shock you, but things might work out.
So glad that it did work out. So from Sasha is our next question. What does your writing routine look like?
Great question. As soon as I get one, I will let you know. Much like Percy, I am way too ADHD to have a schedule or a routine. I am always envious of other writers who say, well, from 9:32 to 10:45 every morning, I work on outlining, and then from 11 to 1, and I don't do that. I don't know. What is a schedule even? I mean, I guess that's because I started writing when I was a full-time teacher, so what was my schedule? Whenever I could. You know, I'd get up at 5 in the morning and I'd try to write for a few minutes before I went off to work to do lesson plans or grade papers, and I'd write a little bit at lunch, and then after the kids were in bed at night, I never had a schedule, and I still don't. The only thing I can tell you is I try to do a little bit every day. I don't let myself slack. Some days that might be 5 minutes of reading notes and just letting myself think about it. Other days I'm really in the zone and it's like 13 hours straight. I'm just writing. But every day is different, and I've just kind of learned that that's okay as long as I keep going, as long as I don't stop.
Can I ask this question? Because when I was a kid and I loved reading, I always had a specific genre of music I needed to listen to. Like I would put on classical. My parents were like, hello, what are you doing? But I needed that to tune in. Yeah. Do you have a genre of music that you have to listen to either write or to read?
I love music. I love just about every kind of music. That doesn't mean I can write to it, though. I mean, if I'm trying to write to anything with lyrics, I will literally start typing out the lyrics. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but it's impossible. I can't do it. So if I am writing, yes, I can listen to music. I did this especially with Apollo, who is the god of music. I figured I'd better. I can listen to jazz, instrumental jazz, or classical is fine. Anything like that. Anything instrumental is great. But although I enjoy music with lyrics, I can't write to it. So, but do I have a go-to genre? No, I'm an omnivore. I like music, all of it. Bring it on.
Awesome. Okay, so now from Sienna, what is your favorite Greek myth?
Favorite Greek myth? Well, I already mentioned Orpheus, so I better not say that again. I was talking to somebody earlier about the weirdest myth, so maybe that's why I'm saying this, because it's just in my mind from that earlier question, but the origin story of Dionysus is particularly strange. that his mother died when he was in utero, and to save the baby, Zeus somehow opened his thigh and put the baby in there so it could come to full term. And so Dionysus was a thigh baby. Which probably explains something, I'm just not sure what. It's a pretty interesting myth.
Okay, put that on a t-shirt. Thigh baby. Okay. From Phoebe, you've spent the last few years working on several collaborative projects, like the Nico D'Angelo books and the Disney Plus Percy Jackson adaptation. How has working with other writers informed the way you look at the approach this story now versus how you originally did while writing the series?
Great question. I think working with Mark, for instance, on the Nico D'Angelo books has been wonderful because they have a set of skills that I don't necessarily have. And I think we complement each other very well. Mark tends to be a more emotional writer and can write scenes where the characters have a little more time to breathe and process, whereas I tend to be a very plot-driven, action-driven writer, and, tough noogies, you're just going to have dilemma after trauma, and there's never any downtime to really process anything. So I think together we created a book that's probably greater than the sum of the parts. Working with Hollywood writers has been really eye-opening. I had no idea how you wrote a script, and I still don't, but I have learned a little bit about how to do it and have great respect for that. The process of writing a script from writing a book is night and day different. The things they have to think about are not necessarily things I have to think about. Script writing is collaborative. Even if there's only one person on the screen, on the screenplay, that doesn't mean only one person weighed in. Probably dozens weighed into it. And it went through so many drafts and so much writer's room time talking about how to do it. When I'm writing a book, it's me. It's just me until I show it to my editor, which is very late in the process. And I don't have to worry about things like production budget. I can say 20 dragons rolled out of the sky. And that's fine. It's done. The rest is your imagination. If you're a screenwriter, they're going to have questions for you. Like, does it have to be 20? Do they have to breathe fire? And for how long? And do they all have to look different, or can we have the same dragon 20 times? Because money.
Very technical. I love a good free imagination there. It's always nice. Okay, so speaking of working with other writers, the next question is from Allison. How do you find and select the authors who participate in your Rick Riordan Presents series?
The Rick Riordan Presents, if you're not familiar with it, it's an imprint that I started with Disney, sort of a subdivision imprint, where, see, the thing was I was getting questions all the time from fans, very, legitimate questions. Well, Rick, you've done Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology. What's next? Are you ever going to do West African mythology or Central American mythology or Chinese mythology? And I never felt really comfortable with that idea because I grew up with Greek and Roman and Egyptian and Norse. The others, not so much. I love them. I love those stories, but I'm not an expert. And I'm not from a culture where that was part of my upbringing. So I thought to myself, wouldn't it make more sense if instead of me trying to do that stuff, we found authors who were actually from those cultures who want to tell Percy Jackson sort of type stories, but in their own way, with their own characters. And I would just be the cheerleader. I would say, if you like Percy Jackson and you also like Aztec mythology, I'm not the guy. But Jennifer Cervantes, oh yeah, go check out this book. So how do I choose the authors? I mean, I don't really directly. They submit to the imprint just like they would with any publishing contract. They find a literary agent goes out, says, here's the book that they've written or they're thinking about writing. Would you be interested? We look at samples. And we just look for the best and look for a nice range. And we have gotten such great authors. And the neat thing is they all support each other too. It really has become like a family, and they're all fantastic.
Okay, so Dan's coming at you now with a crossover question.
All right, Dan.
Do you have plans for a crossover event with Magnus, the Canes, and Percy?
Yes, like the like Avengers Endgame with like everybody coming in. I mean, like so many things, sure, I've thought about it, you know. I mean, if you've thought about it, I probably have too. The only thing is, what would that look like? When would I do that? How would I do that? I don't know. That's the short answer. It's like so many things, you know, it's easy to think of it. Actually doing it is another thing. I would love to someday, maybe, but we'll see.
Okay, well, this next one is to close us out, and it's about our fans here. From Steph, what's the most moving thing a Percy Jackson fan has ever said to you?
Aw. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I've gotten all kinds of blue food and beads and camp shirts and poems and, you know, stories about how the books affected. I mean, so many wonderful things that I've seen and gotten and heard about over the years. I think, though, if I had to pick just one fan letter, I had a girl years ago who sent me, by mistake, her grocery list. I don't know what she wanted to say, but I know she needed mayonnaise and eggs and lettuce. And I suspect when she got to the grocery store, she opened her list and went, oh, God. But somehow that has become my all-time favorite fan letter.
Oh my goodness. So you have given so much to so many of us. You've created a wonderful legacy with Percy Jackson and the worlds that continue to grow. I have a question for you, though. You've given so much to us. What would you say Percy has given to you?
Oh, well, Percy's been part of my life. I mean, he has been parallel to my sons, both of them, as they have developed into adults. He has given me my career. He's given me a chance to still be a teacher, except now I just have millions of kids in my classroom, and I don't have to grade your papers. So thank you.
Score.
It's everything. It's really been everything to me.
Well, thank you again so much, Rick, for joining us tonight to celebrate the 20th anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
And then, of course, Percy's birthday. The fact that we're going to be here celebrating that's pretty magical that all aligned like that. So thank you again for just the love of books, the inspiration for books and beyond in the world that's multi-generational. We want to give a big thank you to you, Rick. We will also want to give a big thank you to Disney Publishing for hosting us here, hosting all of us here for tonight. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us. And let's give one more big round of applause to Rick Riordan.